as I said before, there's actually two different types of benefits, tangible and intangible. So the tangible benefits will always have a way of measuring them, and it may be by time or it may be by money or it could be a percentage. So the things that we would include in a tangible benefits are cost savings, so reduction in operational costs. This could be by reducing the number of FTE you have, removing software costs, hardware costs, material costs, and you would have a monetary value assigned to this. So when you get to, usually it wouldn't be directly at the very end of the project, but you may say within 6 to 12 months of this project going in, we would expect to see this amount of money start to fall away from our operational costs. Increased revenue. So you may be looking to go out for new funding in, for example, in the community services area, which would be a new revenue stream. So you would be then looking at either a monetary value or a percentage here to say, by putting in this system, we're anticipating that we'd be able to get new funding for this program, and that would increase this amount of money into our organisation. A process improvement is very, very, very common for organisations to have a lot of waste in their processes. And in Lean, we try to look at how we can try to remove some of that waste. So you, in this instance, would be looking at reducing processing times, either through automation, streamlining how they do their work. So you may look at, for example, a reduction of handoffs, or the amount of times that they need to touch something or do something in the system. So you would be either looking at an efficiency gained by timing, and you could possibly look at a reduction in staff costs here. So you may be projecting that because you put this system in, you would say one person doing all of that work, and that one person may then get reassigned to do different work instead. You might improve your quality. Unfortunately, if you have clunky systems or you're doing things manually, there is an element where you can't put quality controls in place to make sure that the data is getting entered in the right format. So if you don't have drop-down lists and you're asking a question, people could put it in with spelling mistakes, or they could put it in with very different data information, or they just may not enter it at all. So that impacts your ability to then use it for reporting in the future or understanding what's happening in your business. So by putting in a system with quality controls, you can reduce a lot of rework, you can improve customer satisfaction, you can get efficiencies, and you may get some monetary value assigned to this as well. You may reduce risk. Like I said before, sometimes if you have manual processes, by putting in a system with really tight controls in place, you can prevent that risk from ever occurring. So this could have a reduction in a risk percentage or a monetary value as well. And then compliance, it may actually help you meet your legislative requirements or industry standard requirements by putting this system in place.
I think this is a really good point you're making about business benefits. I think we probably don't spend enough time thinking about that at the front and the scope of what those benefits would be, because everyone's going to be impacted by a change in a client information system, and understanding which stakeholders it's going to benefit, and then how you would measure that, whether it's tangible or intangible, I think is a really good place to start, because you can keep coming back to this and going, well, we thought we're actually going to benefit in this way, but you might actually find there are new and different benefits that arise as part of the implementation that you go, you know what, we need to capture that, because we didn't even really see that was something that where we were going to benefit, and now we've got some data to be able to show that.
I agree. It's also very useful. Once again, it comes back to that key project sponsor role. It helps keep that vision intact and making sure that you're all heading in the same direction with what you're building. So the project sponsor would always be responsible for you achieving these benefits and making sure you hit these targets, whilst the project manager will be responsible for doing it. The project sponsor is accountable for you doing it and achieving those goals. And that's what comes back to it, really important, just having that one person in that role, so they can monitor how you're tracking to that progress. I'll also now just go through intangible benefits. So both of these are a value add to an organisation, and they'll be chosen based on, I guess, the strategic vision and where the organisation is actually heading. So some of the intangible benefits could include compliance or audit. So you may have had the organization has failed an audit and that they've recommended as part of the solution that they put in a customer management system. So it could be then done by, like I said, an internal or external audit, and you may use the system to help solve that. Customer satisfaction and brand loyalty, you may find that if you have a really clunky manual process, even though you're providing services to the community, they might not find that for them, especially if they're in a vulnerable state, that the complicated workflow that they need to go through to get their help is actually benefiting them at that point in time. So you may find to put a system in place to improve and streamline it so your staff are focused on the important part of their role, which is helping people, rather than entering data into a system. Reputation, you may use it to improve your organization's brand and or public image. You can find that sometimes with an organization, if you do have, like I said, really clunky processes, they'll be known for being challenging to get through or it not the easiest process for someone to go through. User experience, improving the usability for internal staff and external customers. I think this is a really important one to always have or bear in mind on a project, especially for internal staff, because their role is to be helping people and usually not to try and spend all their time doing admin data entry. So it's really important that whatever you do, you keep them front of mind to make sure that you're making it usable, easy for them to follow, and that they can capture information in the easiest possible way for them. Being adaptable, flexible. So there's a lot of legislation or regulatory changes that can come into play, and having a system that can adapt and be flexible with that is really important. So sometimes the benefit may be just providing an organization with the ability to respond to a market faster. Strategic goals and decision making. So in the last organisation that I worked with Mandy on, one of their goals was to help them make strategic decisions in the future. So sometimes putting a system in can provide insights into the type of people that are coming to see them. So then they can lobby for additional funding or services that they could offer out to the community, and they can then get a rich data source to help support them doing that. And then, of course, Mandy, do you have any questions around the intangible benefits?
I think this is another really important area because for a lot of organisations and people who work in these organisations, what they are thinking about is the intangible benefits, which is it might be that at the moment I don't know what difference we make to clients and families that we support. We haven't been able to measure outcomes in the past. We're very focused on having to meet the compliance requirements of funders, but we don't get to collect the data that we think is important and actually matters to those people that we work with. So some of those things about being able to do something that they haven't been able to do in the past, and to deliver on that strategic intent is really important, I think, to keep front of mind. I think the other part of it, which is some of the intangible, is like cultural change inside an organisation. So I think you're right that people who work in our sector, they come to work because they really want to focus on helping people. It is a change, though, isn't it, to think about the client information system, which is actually your knowledge system. And this is why you put data in it. It's not really always just an admin thing. It's actually a thing that captures the nature of the work and what you do, which leads to these outcomes. And I think culturally shifting the way people think about how they enter data also has an impact on the quality of the data. Because as you were saying before, if the quality of the data is not great, then the reports are just a reflection of either not very much data because we didn't collect it all, or the quality of the data and we haven't cleaned it up. So I think, it's really important to think in those intangible ways and then say to yourself, okay, well, how would we measure those things? Because much less easy to measure some of those things. And, some of the ways that I suppose people could measure that might be, staff satisfaction surveys. And me as a user, now? What can I do that I didn't used to be able to do? Or is it less stressful because I can find everything in a central place? It's easier to do that. And how I feel, and when I come to work and I actually know that we're focusing on the things that are most important for those people that we work with to achieve those outcomes. Have you seen other ways that people are using to kind of capture and to measure those intangible benefits, Ashley?
Yeah, so one of them is what you just said. I've worked with change managers to do pulse surveys. So you do one at the very start of the project to get their feelings around how they're capturing data and how useful they find the data, to really getting insights into their role, and then doing pulse surveys at the end of the project, and then another pulse survey 6 to 12 months after the project. Because you'll find as people become more comfortable with the system, you should see a vast change in that pulse survey as to how they're feeling about the system itself. The other thing you'll see is more data being entered into the system. So if you can put data entry into a logical, easy way for people that isn't incredibly time consuming, you'll find you'll get a lot more data in your system. So one way of telling is by data accuracy. Another way is by just having data there. So
Yeah.
um, that's another way of actually being telling like one technique I've used before is to measure how much was entered at the start of the project, and in one instance it was less than 1%, and then how much was entered after the project, and you can see that there's a significant improvement in what's being captured about a particular client group, and that's a great way of baselining it as well. Strategic vision's a really interesting one. That one you can use for reporting. Once again, that comes back about the richness of the data. So you can then build out, you can then provide reports about other information that they've never seen before. So you can show
Yes.
them that they can now provide reporting to get insights into people coming into our organisation with a specific maybe disability that isn't now supported in our demographic or our area, I should say. And then they can go out for funding to say we can now lobby for this particular kind of support within our area, because we know that that's something that's a key problem that needs support and help. So you can kind of gain that from your strategic one as well. User interface is linked back to pulse surveys, and once again, data enrichment and quality. If people find a user interface logical and easy to use, you'll find a lot more data goes in and they're a lot happier about doing it as well.
Yeah. I think the other point that you've made, which is really important, which is a pulse survey needs to be longitudinal. So
Yes.
you might know, actually, we should anticipate people are going to feel like this at this point in time of an
Mm-hmm.
implementation. And so we need to keep collecting the data at different points in time and past implementation,
Mm-hmm.
because some of these benefits don't actually, I suppose, arise, or you can't see those until you've implemented the system and been using the system for some time.